I used to not be like that until I was like, oh, this is actually one of my gifts, is that I can feel things and I can see things. And I'm just gonna like trust that people will be honest about where they're at, and I can also bring where I'm at, and we'll just find out where we are at. But I don't have to be in control of like modulating my expression because they can't handle it. You know, I just assume everyone can handle it. And I think that's probably one of the best things that I've grown into in the last few years.
You're listening to The Madelyn Moon Show, the podcast that will show you how to become masterful at making art out of love, life, and everything that comes your way.
Today we are sitting down with my besties, Luna Battaglia, Sophia LePage, and Leola Watkins. Each of these women are unique in their brilliance, and we are excited to bring you a little flavor of our friendship. I am really stoked in this moment. This is like a pinnacle of my podcast expression to be here with y'all and to be like bringing my crew onto the show. It's really special.
That means a lot. I recently learned that you've been doing your podcast for 14, 15 years.
Yeah.
So that's an honor, truly.
Yeah, 14 years. And it's definitely reaching completion. I'm just going to be honest. It's reaching completion. I've tried
once you
many
rebrand
times.
and you're like still not stoked.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, y'all.
This is a farewell tour.
Yeah. And so
Best of the best.
I'm so happy that we're here. One of the things that I want to, I said I was off duty of being the host, but I'm very much like stepping into that right now.
I could see
And then we'll roll into it.
Yeah, it's your show.
Then we'll roll into it. We have been on such a beautiful journey of love together. Like one of the things that has bonded us so tremendously is the time of life that we're all in. The fact that we all had really challenging upbringings with family, and that when we started to form, it was like fucking family, like love, commitment, being there for the big life milestones. And it's been so beautiful to be able to like, go through these huge milestones with y'all. It's one of the things that's really bonded us so deeply. And I've never had a crew like this, ever.
Yeah, me either. Really.
I always have.
Of course you have.
Well, then I have.
No matter what.
All right, well,
yeah.
it's unique. It's just different than all the other ones you've ever had, that's for sure.
For sure.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
For sure. Different.
That's right.
That's what I was looking for.
The best.
Yeah. And we've also had some like pretty deep journeys of relationship together that like love and being able to track each other's journeys of love. And the many different layers of love.
The nuance.
The different flavors. Looks different every day.
Every single day.
I like that when we first came together, like I was married and all of you were single.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's been, you've gotten married,
You were
entered.
single.
When we
Yeah.
met, it was, Andrew and I started dating like a month and a half after I met Sophia.
Yeah.
And she was there for the unfolding. Yeah. And then you got married and you got into relationship and there's some fun stuff happening for you now.
Yeah. And then I got into relationship, moved in, then got out of relationship.
That's true. Yeah.
And then, new exciting developments. Yeah, that's really
New
cool.
exciting
developments. TBD. And one of the things I love about us is that we're like equal parts play and depth. And I love sharing stories with you guys about like our love lives and like stupid things that have happened, ridiculous. I've learned so much about you and your love lives and your experiences. Your whole life is love life, which is pretty epic. Yeah. And all the beautiful like different iterations of relationship that you have had to get to where you are today. So something that I really want to do is share stories.
Yay.
I want to hear stories from y'all. I don't care if they've heard it before. They haven't, about love, either something funny or something, it can be also something rich or tender or weird or embarrassing. You probably don't have any embarrassing stories.
I have one embarrassing story.
You do?
Oh, can we hear it?
It's probably not even embarrassing. I want to hear it.
No, it's
Is it?
It's a lot.
Okay.
It's not, I'm not sure if it's for a podcast. It's my one embarrassing story.
Oh.
In love or just in life?
In masturbation.
Oh. Now I really want to hear
All right.
it. Really good.
This was not the story I was going to tell. And this whole story, funny story prepared about this guy that I dated, and we were on our first date, and he was like this very, very attractive artist. And he showed up in like a full furry, like head, big hot pink head bunny full outfit for our first date.
Did he
And
tell you
wore it-
before?
No, and wore it most of the date.
That's non-consensual.
Was he wearing the hat when he arrived?
Yeah.
Did you know it was him?
No. I mean, I guessed it eventually. And
A
that's
full bunny
wild.
hat.
Full bunny.
Like an Easter bunny?
Yep.
Wow.
And the costume as well. So he was just a big
Yeah.
pink bunny.
Yeah, by the end of the night, he just had at dinner, had the bottoms. It was hot. Obviously, he didn't wear the hat for the face for very
He
long.
was hot or it was hot?
Both.
Really?
Both.
Oh.
That was my I'm going to tell my furry story. But that wasn't what happened.
What did he do? I mean,
What
what
was it? He took me out to dinner.
Oh,
And he wore it the whole time.
okay.
Was it like a bougie place or?
It was moderately bougie.
What was his point?
Yeah.
Artist
I
of
think-
love?
Yeah, exactly. No, really.
Mm.
Yeah.
Respect.
Yeah.
Wow.
Respect. That takes guts.
He consistently surprised me in creative ways.
And then you masturbated and
no, the masturbation was in college. And I had one of a vibrator that had it screwed on, the top screwed on and the bottom screwed on.
Okay.
And so the top, if it wasn't screwed on all the way and you were doing stuff, it would get loose enough to pop off.
Oh.
And I couldn't fish it out.
Oh.
Oh, it got stuck.
Oh, it got
Up
stuck.
It
inside.
popped off.
Oh.
And then I couldn't fish it out.
Oh.
Did you have to go to hospital?
No. I squatted and pushed. Birthed it.
Yeah.
My being. That's like my only embarrassing story in my life.
Did someone know about it, or what made it it's just embarrassing for you personally?
Yeah, maybe like my roommates and like my partner that was long distance at the time. I probably told.
Yeah.
Wasn't as like embarrassing because it wasn't a known thing as much,
Yeah.
but it was just like, how does that even like it's like in life? It's like that's the weirdest, strangest event, way more than the furry.
Wow.
Have y'all lost anything in your vagina there?
I
Get
did.
it? You
You what?
she
It's
did.
kind of gross. I lost a tampon. No, not a tampon, a Diva Cup.
How
'Cause-
does that disappear?
Because I was in Colombia and I'd been to this all night Wachuma ceremony, and the next morning the shaman was supposed to take me to the airport, and he kept he was supposed to book me a cab, and he kept forgetting to book it because we were still kind of coming out of the ceremony vibe. And it was like a 3D life thing, and he was in like 5D world, so it wasn't really working. So anyway, I ended up getting to the airport, missing my flight, having to sit there in this tiny little airport in Colombia for like 3 hours for the next flight. Then I got on the plane.
Did you forget it was in?
I basically had this whole day of like travel. I met this little old lady that just spoke Spanish, and because I was still kind of in Wachuma land, I was speaking Spanish to her, even though I didn't know much Spanish, but somehow we had like this long conversation. Then she's like, my grandson will drive you back to where you're staying, but we have to drop me off first. So he ended up driving me all around Bogota. So it was like 7, 8, 9 hours, no sleep, got back. Then anyway, I went to the bathroom and I must have forgotten that I didn't take the Diva Cup out. And then I thought I just lost it. And like a month later, I was with my partner who had just come to visit me. And we were like starting to get into things. And he was like, had his fingers up inside of me. And he's like, what is this? What's that up there? And I'm like, huh, what? Anyway, then I found that it was my Diva Cup. Meanwhile, I'd had a whole moon in between, bought another Diva Cup, been using the other Diva Cup. It might have even been like 2 months later.
Oh my God.
Wow.
There was a Diva Cup on a Diva Cup and
Yeah.
blood layered.
Double
oh my
Diva.
God. You were such a tank in all the ways.
It's so
It's
true.
true. It's
I didn't
like-
get any like
Tank.
yeast infection, nothing.
Such a Sophia story. Like that.
Did you not feel it?
And
Like I
everything
can
was-
just feel
No.
them. Like I hate using the cups because I can just feel it so in
I
me.
think it had
Don't
gone
like it.
so far
Same.
up that I
I'm the same way.
couldn't feel it. It was so embarrassing. I was like, Like, oh God.
That would be so shocking.
And he was kind of
to realize.
disgusted, so it wasn't that great.
Mood damper.
Yeah, it really kind of killed the vibe.
I think I would get some major hypochondria from that. I would be like, what's wrong? There's a thing for a month.
Sophia's just like, I'm good
Yeah.
about everything. All the time.
I'll get my healer to clear it.
Gone. Terry. Just lift all the allergies, the everything.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was epic.
You've never
That
gotten
was-
anything
No.
left behind.
I think no. I mean, I use eggs without a string, so sometimes it takes a while to like if I have a yoni egg in to just push it out. It doesn't get lost though. And then I remember when I was in high school, I went wakeboarding and I wore a tampon and I couldn't find it for a long time.
Oh.
Something about like crashing in the waves and like it just I would do a flip and then to go higher in my body.
yeah.
And I kind of panicked because I was like, I don't know, 16 when this happened. And so, yeah, I was like panicked and searching. And then eventually I got the tip of the string and it came out.
Nice.
It's the most exciting thing that I've lost in there.
I've never gotten anything lost in there, but I have put weird things in there.
Like what?
The weirdest one I think is I put like, so in high school, after the very first time I ever had sex, my period was late.
And I panicked.
Mm.
But I was like, I can't even go take a pregnancy test because I'm just too afraid of the results. So I Googled what like I could do to stimulate a bleed. And I found this whole thing about parsley and like putting parsley into your pussy. And you can drink parsley tea. Like this is like an actual thing that you can do. But what I did is I went to Walmart. I got a bundle of parsley. I worked as a lifeguard at the time. So I went to the pool to do my lifeguard shift. And I remember just bending the bunch of parsley in half and shoving it into my pussy.
While you were lifeguard?
And I had like a little like fanny pack and had to like cover the bits that were not fully up there. But yeah, I had like a full on bundle of parsley.
You had parsley pubes.
Oh, I'm like imagining it. Like, they're just like green little parsley pubes coming out from the side.
It wasn't a comfortable situation, but I
Did you lose? It all came out when you pulled it out?
I don't know. I mean, I
Oh.
guess so. At this point, that was what 16 years ago, 17 years ago.
Was
So.
it flat leaf parsley or
Curly.
curly parsley?
I don't remember. I just remember it being like a whole bundle, like
Yeah.
you know when they sell them
Did
like
you
wrapped
wash
in a
it
rubber band.
first?
Probably
No.
not.
Probably didn't. I think it was organic though. I think that
Okay.
was when like
Okay.
Walmart had just started having some organic. I don't really can't.
I really admire the courage of you at that age to be like, whatever, this is gonna work. You know, you were not
Yeah,
being
This is how
beaten
I'm taking
by.
care of myself right now.
I would say it was less courage and more like anxiety induced
What's the word? Desperation.
exactly. But I think I still didn't get my period for a couple more days after that. And then I took a test and it was negative.
Mm.
And it's really common after you have sex for the very first time to have a delayed cycle.
Maybe it was the
So-
parsley.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
Walmart
the
parsley.
parsley did it. I don't
Mhm.
know, hard to say. But that's the weirdest thing. I think I put in my pussy a whole bundle of herbs.
I kind of love that for you. I feel like that's very Leola.
Very.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's on brand.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, what is your story you want to share?
My story that
Yeah.
that I was asked to prepare.
Yeah.
Well, I got this cleared from Madelyn yesterday, actually, but the story involves Madelyn too.
Oh.
Mm.
So this year, my fun dating story is that I decided to transform, to shapeshift
fun.
into God's favorite bimbo.
God's Bimbo.
So my husband is, like many men, very appreciative of the feminine range and the curiosity of different archetypes. And I'm a very natural woman. Like, don't dye my hair, natural boobies, no filler or anything, at least yet. And dressed kind of like a goddess hippie. And I decided to transform into like a different archetype, which I would call God's favorite bimbo. So that involved, like, Andrew has always had this interest in, like, oh, you should dye your hair like really blonde sometime. And I've always said no because I know it's just going to fry my hair and ruin it. But there's an amazing wig shop in Austin called Coco Coquette. So I went there with Madelyn. Couldn't be anyone better for that sort of activity and role. And got a platinum blonde
I named
wig.
her God's favorite bimbo.
She did.
I named
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
I named it.
She owns it. I was like, oh, I'm bimbo-fied. But you were like, God's favorite
God's
bimbo.
favorite
And I was
bimbo.
like, that
It was clear. It was
that
clear.
matches.
You put on the hair and I was like,
Yeah.
that's God's favorite bimbo.
Yeah. And then had like bright blue, like 80s eyeshadow.
Amazing.
They did my makeup as well. And then I wore like a tiny little skirt and a tiny little tank top and really tall heels. It was so uncomfortable. And I got a hotel for us in the city, and I had him meet me at a hotel bar, not the hotel bar, a bar around the corner of the hotel where you're actually not allowed to have phones. So there was no way for him to contact me or for me to contact him. And he didn't recognize me. He was like looking around for me. And even when I was like, I'm here,
Amazing.
he was shocked.
How was the sex afterwards?
The sex was great. He was as soon as he saw me, he's like, yeah, don't dye your hair blonde. So that was great because I got to finally quiet that desire. But it was interesting though, because we got started and he was like, I don't take it off. I just want you now.
I love that.
Which was really sweet. Yeah. But he was so appreciative of the devotion to just surprise him with this and be curious. And it was really fun for me too. I mean, I feel like as women growing up, it's like mother, Madonna, like you have this archetype that's really celebrated. And then there's like the dark feminine and like the whore and like some of the sensual pieces. And for so many centuries, we really had to choose between the two as women. And it's fun in this lifetime to be able to really have the freedom to shapeshift and to explore our range and to have that received by our men is also a gift. So that's my story.
I kind of love that. I love that he was like, okay, that's enough.
Yeah.
I feel like you've done that in your marriage.
Yeah.
Just shapeshifted aesthetically, name, different
That's
things,
true.
interests
Yeah.
in such big ways.
Yeah. When Gabriel met me, I only wore flowy things that didn't show my body. I wore no makeup. I had long brown, like wild lioness hair, witch hair.
Do you have armpit hair?
No, I'd gotten rid of that by that point.
But you have had it before.
But I did go through a period of like growing out every single hair on my body because I had like so much disgust around female body hair because, you know, I have like Mediterranean French like ancestry, and so my hair's dark, and so I like got like hairy legs earlier than every other kid, and I got called Spider, and I was just like I hated it. Like I felt like it was disgusting. And so when I was kind of going through my hippie phase traveling through South America, my friend said like, oh, you have to grow out the hair, that's more spiritual. And I was like, okay, I want to be spiritual. Like, I really want to be spiritual. And I was like, and I feel so triggered around this. And that means I need to do it. And so I did it. I grew out every hair. I had like full bush, everything. And I got to the point where I felt beautiful with all that hair. And then I moved to Bali and I'm like, okay, I did that now. Like I've released the shame around it. And now I just I actually prefer less hair. So that was good. So by the time I met Gabriel, I was sort of starting to come back a little bit more towards where I am now. But I also was called Amrita at that time because I had taken on my spiritual name, my Kundalini name, and I was vegan and I didn't drink and I didn't smoke.
Enemas every day.
And yeah, enemas every day.
Wow.
Every day. Yeah. I was doing like this mucus-free eating where you
It's a lot of fruit.
Yeah, lots of fruit, lots of like fasting, dry fasting, like all that stuff. I was like kind of a nightmare, I realized, once I got with Gabriel and found out how particular he was, I was like, wow, it's kind of boring to be so restrictive. So I shifted that. So yeah, I've shape shifted a lot. And sometimes like I think there are ways in which I've shape shifted that he's really appreciated, and ways in which that's been like a bit of a challenge for him to accept. But I'm like, well, this is me, so get on board. You'll learn to. I'm like, I'm here to challenge. That's what I'm here for.
And we didn't. All of us didn't know you then, right?
No,
During that time. So I can't compare it to that, but like you feel so you, you know, like the way that I experience you with all the things about you that you own and you proudly show and you share. You're so clear in yourself. You're very clear in yourself. You know who you are, and you can feel that in your presence.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I think my feeling is, from spending so much of my life shape shifting to try to fit in, is that what I realized was, if I own who I am, but I think people struggle to accept parts of us when we're not accepting them, and they will feel that incongruence, and then they say, well, you're not being authentic. And I think whatever you are, as long as you're authentic, people resonate with that, because there's an inner relaxation in your nervous system when you're around someone who's just who they are, you know, because there's kind of like a tightness in a person that's trying to portray an image or be a certain way to be liked or loved or accepted. And when that's gone, it's like, oh, like there's freedom.
Right. There's breath. There's so much breath when someone just, you know, you ever hear someone just say something that the whole room was feeling and no one said it. And finally someone said it and the whole room is like, oh, yeah, thank you. You know, and I think what you're saying, that's very much what you feel in people. It's like when they finally just say the thing that we all feel that you're feeling, there's like so much more breath and permission in the field.
Yeah, I like that. You do that too. I like you. I feel like you're always someone who will name the thing. And I really appreciate that.
Thank you. Yeah. I love naming the thing.
Yeah, we never have to guess with you where you're at. That, I feel like there's so much relaxation in not having to guess.
Yeah, I used to not be like that until I was like, oh, this is actually one of my gifts, is that I can feel things and I can see things. And I'm just going to like trust that people will be honest about where they're at, and I can also bring where I'm at, and we'll just find out where we are at. But I don't have to be in control of like modulating my expression because they can't handle it. You know, I just assume everyone can handle it. And I think that's probably one of the best things that I've grown into in the last few years. What's your story?
Oh, my dating story?
Yeah.
Okay, so I used to never be able to tell if a guy was interested in me. And I've always had like a lot of male friends. And so I was living in London, and there was this guy that was my friend. We'd met in an ayahuasca ceremony. Okay, there's like a lot of and we had stayed friends. We both used to be partiers, and then we were sort of more moving towards like, you know, growing as people and discovering the spiritual side of life. And we hung out a lot, and then I started to develop feelings for him, but I thought he wasn't interested in me. And then my sister would say, well, he keeps driving you here. He wants to do this with you. He's clearly interested in you. So one day I concocted this plan. I'm like, okay, I'm going to say, let's go for dinner. And at dinner, I'm going to tell him that I'm interested and see what he says. So I went to dinner with him, and then I just couldn't do it. I was, we were at this dinner for 5 hours, and I spent the whole time like, he's talking, I'm talking. And in my mind, I'm like, just say it. Now's the moment. Introduce it. And I didn't. So I don't even remember what we were talking about. Anyway, after dinner, it's like 11 p.m. He's like, oh my God, it's so late. I've got to go home. So I'm like, fuck. So we start walking down the street towards where the tube is, like the train, and we're getting towards the entrance, and like the entrance is there. And then I had this whole flash of like, I'm going to go home and regret that I didn't say anything. This is the moment. And so I just kind of stopped him and really awkwardly said like, hey, I'm I'm like attracted to you. What do you think? Kind of thing.
What do you think?
And I think he was shocked, and he sort of just kissed me. But I feel like looking back on it, I think he just didn't know what to do in the moment. And then we ended up going back to his place. We ended up being intimate. It was the first time I'd ever had sex completely sober. And that felt really great and it felt really safe. But then after that, it felt like I was always just sort of like chasing him. And I think that it was just kind of like, he's like, well, you're attractive and I like you, so let's just do this. But I don't think it was really, I don't think he was, I don't think he would have initiated that. And I think I kind of misread the situation. And then I spent like months feeling like I was chasing him around like a puppy dog trying to see if there was something there. So it was a bit of a letdown. But yeah, I felt so embarrassed and so scared to say anything. But yeah, that's my story.
Yeah.
But he was a really sweet guy. Yeah.
Yeah. Where is he now?
Where is he now? I think he's still in London. Yeah.
Have you ever had that sensation where like you wanted to say something and you just couldn't?
No.
Yeah. I'm just curious, like if that's ever been a thing for you.
I'm sure in like a small way, yeah, but no, that's not really a part of my personality.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that. I'm familiar with just like the build up and then like learning how to act on impulse, especially as a feminine being, is like one of the most important things that we can learn, because we've been like desensitized and there's this incredibly thick nervous system that gets built. And so our responses get really slow.
You've shared things with me when dating and that like I couldn't comprehend it. You're like, what? I really didn't want to be there anymore, but he was just nice. And then he made this thing and then there was dessert. And I was just like, just leave. Or like, and then I find this with a lot of women friends who date. Somebody else recently was telling me a story and they were like, and I'm not interested. I'm like, but did you tell them you're not interested? They're like, no. And I'm like, so do they think you're going to go on another date? They're like, probably. And I was like, you should tell them you're not interested. And it's like such a hard thing to do that when I was dating, pretty much any time I went on a date that I did not see a potential future, I would just like really kindly let them know at the end of the date, like, this was so great. I had such a good time. I really liked connecting with you. Conversation was great. I don't see a romantic like future budding here that I want to pursue, but I just want to say thank you. And this was such a good time.
Yeah. I feel like that's the way to do it 1,000,000%. And there's so much grace for that challenge with it because as women, it's like we've been conditioned, a lot of us from a young age, to be so agreeable and like keep the peace. And even just like biologically, like disagreeing with a man can bring up ancestral survival patterns, whatever. And so I think that it's like, yeah, it's deep.
Yeah. And like
I feel that. I just don't somatically understand that.
Yeah.
And your whole journey as you grew up was you taking care of yourself. Like at a young age, you learned this is what I must do to protect myself and take care of myself. And it's just interesting looking at the backgrounds people have had. So I've been, I've watched you and like you tell it like it is. You are not going to do anything you don't want to do. And it's really trustable. And I love that about you. Especially in the realm of like with men. You're very clear in the realm of men. I had an experience of enmeshment growing up. And so it was like helicopter. So learning how to like not associate my no's and my yeses, particularly with men, became social issues rather than primal ones. It's like
Social versus primal.
Yeah. So like I couldn't just feel my primal no. My no is attached to a social context. Are they going to like me? Am I safe? Am I protected? What happens then? Will I be manipulated into being a yes? So I'm just not going to say anything so they can't manipulate me. Just this whole spirally thing that got really complicated and complex, all in that little moment of like, do you want to stay for dessert?
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of people were like, I've experienced that too. And it's for me, like many times in the past, I definitely will now say my thing, even though I might have I will have stuff come up. How are they going to receive it? Are they going to feel rejected? Is this going to create a problem? But I'll say it now, even though that's all happening inside of me. But I think back when I was younger, I worried about people feeling hurt or feeling rejected. And so I would just kind of like, glide away. And I think in that story of the guy that didn't really say to me, hey, like, I'm actually, that was great and I love you as a friend, but I don't want more. I think he was probably trying to save me from feeling rejected. But because he wasn't just clear, then I felt confused, was second guessing. And I think that's what happens a lot of times when people aren't clear, and why it's so good to tell someone if you're not interested, because then they're like, okay, even if that stung in the moment, they can kind of sort of go, all right, now I can move on and not keep putting out energy here, or like losing energy in the wondering and the confusion and the second guessing. Yeah.
I had a mom who did not give a fuck.
Mm.
So, like, I grew up with this model of a woman who just was gonna do what she wanted no matter what.
Yeah.
And then there was like really valuable things I gained from that. And then a lot of things I've had to and continue to unlearn and rewire that's not, that's like knowing how to read a room and like being diplomatic and meeting people where they're at, and not just the self interest of like, this is how I feel and this is what I want to say, but kind of like compassion over truth sometimes.
Yeah.
And learning that and navigating that. And so there's like an opposite thing that I find a lot of women that I know are learning how to like exercise the truth of their yeses and their nos and actually verbalize it. And that's not a thing, but it's like, okay, now I have to, how am I saying my yes and how am I saying my no? And that's my practice realm.
Bringing a little softness into it.
Yeah, like a sensitivity in time and place. I like the thing that you've been saying, the compassion over truth sometimes.
Yeah. But I feel like the two don't have to be mutually exclusive.
No.
I think they can go together.
There's a moment, what I mean by that is like there's a moment sometimes when telling someone the truth is actually not the compassionate thing to do.
Yes. Yeah. And sometimes it's like, is it necessary?
It can also mean not over as in instead of, but like literally compassion smothered over truth.
Oh, yeah.
Truth
Poured over it.
So many
compassion
recipes.
cupcake.
Douse it in compassion.
Yeah.
One of the quotes that's made the most difference in my relationship and was one of my vows was, how did I phrase it? The question is, would you rather be right or be in love? And I think like that's like a big thing for both Andrew and I, because we both like to be right. Being right feels fun, but it's
Because you win.
yeah, but it's not the thing that brings closeness usually and depth.
But that also sets up a dynamic of someone's winning and someone's losing instead
We
of
can't be on
being
the
a
same
team.
team.
Yeah. Where you both win.
Yep. That's our word this year, teamwork.
We win together.
Teamwork.
It's
Andrew's word is God. Our word is teamwork, and mine is integration.
really solid words. Yeah, go team.
You have a word
Yeah,
this year?
I do.
What is it?
Clarity.
Clarity.
Iconic.
Oh, yes.
Yes, that's fitting.
Mine's creativity.
Activity. Integration. What great words. What was y'all's words last year?
Mine was strength.
I don't remember.
That
I
is
don't think
exactly
I
what
said
you
one
called in
last-
opportunities to be strong.
I know. It was weird because I was really
Wow.
resistant to the word too. I was like, but it wasn't the type of strength. I had to really get clear on what that word meant. And to me, the word had to do with more with like mastery of myself, like a strength that comes from like a deep well within, not a like
Power.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Inner strength.
Yeah.
Mental strengths.
Yeah. Resiliency.
Spiritual strength.
Physically rooted
Energetic
and beyond.
as strong. What was your word?
I don't remember. I don't think I set a word last in 2024. But then I feel that was probably a mistake because I feel like my year was all over the place. I was kind of started off housewife vibes, and then I'm like, okay, I'm getting back into my business, and then I'm going to work with Gabriel, and then I'm like, but I kind of miss working on my own. So it was sort of, I think my word for last year should have been chaos.
You kind of thrive in there.
I know. I kind of like it, to be honest. It enlivens me a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like any word can be construed positively or negatively, and any intention. I think also sometimes the year before where I set relaxation and then I just ended up bored. It's like, you know, sometimes your intention of what you think it's going to be isn't what it is. And I feel that if I look back over time, I'm always like, okay, but I learned a lot and I grew a lot, and that's what matters. Even if it didn't exactly pan out the way I would have liked always, there are always things that are better than I expected and some things that didn't turn out the way I wanted. And I think that's kind of like life and the richness of the tapestry. So,
amen.
Yeah. 2023, my word was generosity.
Oh, yeah.
And I learned so much. And then I was like doing my taxes in 2024, and I was like, I could have reined that in a lot. I did not need to be so generous. I think I will shift that.
I remember you having that reflection. Yeah, I remember that. My word last year was lucky.
Oh, yeah, because of the ceremony on New Year's?
Yeah, we had a New Year's ceremony, and there was a man there that has, he's a
Do
very...
you remember that? Like the whole mantra?
Yeah, because I wrote it down.
Let's do it.
So this is the actual version of it. He did it slightly different, but actually this comes from somebody else that he learned it from. I am a lucky woman. Lucky things happen to me. I feel lucky.
So imagine 14 people at midnight doing this all together.
Weren't you there?
No, I was sick.
Andrew was there. You're both sick.
Yeah. I feel lucky. It was a really powerful moment for me, like experiencing his transmission. And that man is incredibly wealthy and has done so well in his life. And so I was like, you know what? That's a really fun word. I'm going to adopt it. I in some ways, I mean, I had a pretty intense year, but in some ways, there were some lucky things that did happen.
Very lucky.
Yeah, like getting into Jolie's house and then some other things that occurred. And you'd say very lucky?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
I feel like I need to rewrite my meaning of lucky.
Okay, that is truth. Yeah, that's correct.
I feel like I have such a contraction around the word lucky, like, no, you earned it.
Because you can't force it yourself.
Well, it's like, but why? Like, why can't it just be a good thing that happens without having earned it? Like, I'm noticing that in myself of like this feeling of you shouldn't, like, or not you, but I should only get what I've earned. And I'm like, well, maybe it's time to rewrite that.
Get lucky.
Because why not have like some just awesome blessings that just pop out of the sky?
Totally.
Just for the fun of it. Like,
I really
that
like
sounds
it as
epic.
a baby name.
Lucky.
Both genders. I'm like, I just love it. We've been talking about names, and I'm like, I just love it.
Lucky.
That's
a cute name.
For a boy or a girl.
It gives a
lot.
frequency. I really love. I hear what you're saying, because I've also felt like, lucky has a bad rep because people will say that unconsciously, like, you're so lucky. That's when it gets a little bit tweaked, because that's when you did earn it. And when people say that, it can cause a contraction that you want to fight it back. But lucky on its own is its own energetic.
Yeah.
And when you just tap into the frequency of lucky without people projecting their beliefs onto you, just lucky, it feels like
I like it.
a
I
pot
feel
of
like
gold.
Lucky feels like God. Like, it's like, this is divine intervention, guidance, love. That's lucky to me. And I also resonate with what you said, like, to me, like, going to a casino and just like getting lucky, like, that doesn't give me the same gratification in a way. But I don't know. I like lucky. I do.
I think also sometimes people use it as an excuse. Oh, well, they're just lucky to stop themselves from actually taking on challenges, seeking out opportunities, like really getting into the power position in their own lives. And I think that's the piece of it that and like what you said, where it's like people seeing other people that have good things and being like, oh, well, they're just lucky. So it's those two aspects of it. But when you were saying it, I'm like, oh, it feels so exciting with my buddy. I'm like,
I had a client and she was just one of those people where she's like, I win everything. She's like, I do a raffle, I win. She's like, I don't know what it is. I'm just lucky that way. And it was so true.
Yeah.
And it just kept happening and happening. And I think part of that is the like internal mantra of seeing yourself in that way.
It's really related to receivership as well.
Yeah.
And receiving is actually work. It's hard for some people. And so, I mean, until you get that code.
okay,
Yeah,
I'm embodying that now.
Yeah, lucky.
Iconic, lucky, dope bitch.
That's right.
That is very you. Yeah.
Oh, okay, I feel enlivened.
There's a Britney Spears song called Lucky.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
I want
On
to
the
listen
first album. Like, it's an old one, I think.
Yeah. Well, I wonder if it's any good.
He's
Can't
so
remember.
lucky. She's a star.
Yeah.
She shined the
Yes.
lonely hearts.
All right. That's the song for
Great.
2025.
Great. We're nailed. Nailed it.
What would you like to share about our friendship?
Oh my gosh. I feel so blessed. I feel like I think something for me that I have always craved and been fairly blessed with, but like not at the level that I experience with y'all, is depth. And when that's married with playing and partying and like enjoying and fun and just experiences in an elevated way with the depth, I feel like we have this sweet spot that is really unique and something that I've had with so many amazing women and people in friendships and a lot of depth in my life. And there's a way that we all show up in the play and pray ratio that I am just so nourished by in a way that I haven't been before.
Yeah.
And I think part of it is a lot of willingness to go through the things that are required. And I think we all see that from our romantic relationships too, is to have the depth that you want and the longevity. You have to kind of move through the things that get in the way of that. And I feel like we're all willing to do that and be graceful with each other in the hiccups along the way.
Yeah.
And yeah, it just feels like you can relax and breathe because you know that that's going to be part of it.
Yes. Yeah. I deeply feel that. One of the things that's been really hard for me in my upbringing is I was not raised with girl code at all. I never learned girl code. Like, you know, ovaries before brovaries, like really being there and choosing your girlfriends before you choose other experiences or boys or like I didn't learn any of that. And so I had some experiences in college that were incredibly confronting and confusing because other women seemed to be in this kind of social thread. I was in a sorority. I was just like always around girls. I was the outsider always. And they understood something that I felt like I wasn't let in on. And I had a couple experiences with women as I got out of college and I started like developing adult female relationships where the theme of you should have just known. You should have just known that wasn't okay. Should like this is what girlfriends do together. You shouldn't have done that. And like immense confusion, shame, and the defensiveness of just like, well, I don't want to be a part of this if this is what being friends with women are like, is you just don't like me because I'm not good enough or this or that. Because I didn't have that instilled of like what it means to truly deeply choose friendships. It goes back to one of the earliest stories that was ever implanted in me from my mother of I have this memory of my mom saying, friends don't like you. like just straight up. And this was super like vulnerable time of my life. And it was a story that got so deeply implanted in me that as I got older, I just somatically believed that. And I didn't know what to do with my hands with women. And as I got older, even before I met y'all, I started to lean in more and like understand, like true friendship that deepens and grows past things, past ruptures is pretty cool. Like this is kind of possible. And then by the time that we have all gathered just in the last 4 years, there's been a experience that I've been able to have of what it means to bring loyalty into friendship. Like, and I'm a very loyal person, but I never experienced that with women as friends until y'all. Truly, like I had friends all come and go, but this is fucking family. This is family, and there's like a thread of loyalty, but also like forever. You know, I've made commitments to you of like forever, forever, and in that sense, it's been really healing to me. There isn't any you should have just known here. 2, there isn't you shouldn't. We teach each other. We're showing each other how we want to be loved. We're teaching each other how we want to be loved. We're growing through ruptures and creating repair. And yeah, it's been a really beautiful experience for me, especially with all of our very different energetics coming together.
I feel that for me, I also resonate on the play and the depth, because I've had a lot of friendships groups that were just around play or just around depth. And I've also had a lot of friendship circles where I kind of entered in and I felt like, oh my God, we're all so aligned. We're on the same page. We believe the same thing. We're in the same spot. And then it would I'd kind of keep my growing happening, and then it wouldn't make sense anymore. And so I've never before experienced a sisterhood group, like definitely individuals, but a group where I feel like we all care as much about growth and becoming the best versions of ourselves as each other. And so as we continue to grow, we're kind of growing in the same direction, while there's also a lot of spaciousness for different life stages and different desires in the way that we, want our individual life to be. So, and I like that we have threads of flavors that weave through us all, but we're all individuals as well. Like we're all a little bit different and unique. And that for me feels really fun as well, because I like being around people that don't always think exactly the same way as I do, or don't have exactly the same background as me, or have different, strengths and skills in other areas. Like that to me feels very exciting and inspiring and interesting, and it's part of that depth for me, is that richness of the variety of life experiences that we've had, and the way in which we see things similar but different.
Yeah. I resonate completely. I really resonate with the depth in the play. I think that that's one unique frequency that we do really well. And one thing that I witness in each of you that has felt very nourishing and safe for me is I think that you're the best example of this, but how you went from, like, you've lived all of these different lives and found your authentic self in the journey, and then just bring it so unapologetically to this group. And I feel that in each of your own frequencies. I think it's evident in the way that each of you have spoken in your own unique way. And I think that there's a lot of safety in that and permission. And that leads to the family piece. That's not something that I had growing up. And I really appreciate how we do the holidays and how we do life together. And I think about last Christmas, like that was such a healing Christmas for me, especially. And I know that there were others too, but having things come up on the holidays and having it be an even greater reason to all come together to heal like our holiday trauma around
Are
our
you talking
families.
about this recent one or the one before?
The one before
The one
that.
before.
This one was also
when I gave
healing,
everybody
but
COVID.
That's
Yeah.
the one.
The gift that keeps
Merry
on
Christmas.
giving.
That one and Easter. And I think that
Yeah.
the last thing that I would say, I mean, there were so many things that I love about our friend group. And that's kind of why I wanted to go last, because I wanted to hear what everyone said and then add the like fill in the blanks. But another thing I really appreciate is how generous everyone is. I feel so met, like in terms of the willingness to connect and process together and gather and like I don't celebrate each other. Like it's one of my it was my birthday recently, speaking to everyone at my birthday, just like knowing that there's a separate thread that I'm not in that is about my gift. Like there is a whole group of women conspiring for my pleasure and joy. And like knowing that I saw each one of you have a similar experience several times really in the last, few years, couple of years since we've deepened. And like how beautiful is that? I don't know. That's just like such a small but tangible example of the generosity and the I don't know, co-creation of pleasure and joy that's available.
When I started to get into relationship last year, John said one of the biggest green flags about you is your friendships. And and like watching how loved I was and just like witnessing other people who he didn't really know yet and just seeing not only the love that they gave me, but the love that I was giving them. And he was just like, this is one of the biggest green flags about you and being in relationship and feeling that. And I think the other thing I'll share is that something I think that's really unique, particularly you three, is we value the relationship. So in our romantic relationships, we're always cheering the whole of the relationship on instead of you as an individual.
Yeah.
And I've had an experience with another friend who I stopped talking to about my relationship because if there was a charge or a conflict or I was in a kind of challenging thing in my relationship and shared it, they would go into negativity around my partner. And I'm like, and I can see the part of me that kind of wants to like do that with them. And then there's part of me that's like, I would like, fuck you. Don't talk about my man, like, whatever it is. Yeah. And it's something that I find very, very rare with women and that all four of us really always move to immediately. Is I trust that whatever you both need for the relationship is going to be what comes through this. And I think that that's really special.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. We all have a desire and an ability to be with somebody who will be devil's advocate as well. Like being able to go to, I can go to any one of you and talk about something that's happening with me and receive your perspective on where am I? Like, where's my ego getting in the way? Where am I being unrealistic or bratty or bitchy or what am I not seeing? And really trusting that we're all able to hold for each other the vent, the frustration. This is what's happening, just without having to like contort it or filter it. Just bring the full truth, and then together sort through to find what is best for the relationship. What really is going on, and it's such a like beautiful gift in our friendship to be able to be in service to each one of y'all's relationships as a whole. And there's no love ever lost for anybody's partner, no matter what they say or what they do. Like as long as you're choosing this person, like we've got you. Like we're here to be of support to that relationship.
Yeah, there's really a capacity for nuance in this group as well, and grace. And that's really sweet.
Yeah, I feel like it's so important to have that. And I think for me personally, in past friendships, I haven't had that. So I've had a lot of, past relationships where I would keep things back. Like I wouldn't share things because I'd be afraid, oh, now my friends are going to see my partner in this one way and they're not also seeing all these other things. And I'm sure I probably did it to, although no, I've actually always, that's a lie.
I'm perfect.
No, but I'm not perfect.
She's
But
just
I have
99.9% of the time.
I get it. We all
Right.
are. That's
But
another thing we all have in
I've
common.
always been the sounding board for my friends on their relationships, and I have had a lot of friendships where I had a pretty much equal friendship with both partners.
Mhm.
So both the guy and the woman, and so I would kind of be that sounding board for both of them and hold that kind of like middle ground of hearing this partner talk about what they're struggling with, give some kind of like feedback and things without revealing what the other person, like it's actually quite an uncomfortable place to be, or it can be, but also I think it feels really good to have that, feel like that kind of space and care can be held for me as well, and for all of us, because all relationships have challenges, all relationships have beautiful parts of them and things that we've got to work through, and places where that our little configuration of us as a couple is going to touch on certain wounding, and that's the opportunity for greater depth and more growth, and sort of transcending those things together or accepting them together or whatever it is. And if it's all happening in here and we never have anyone that we can share it with, it also, it's very hard to be able to sort of zoom out sometimes and see that greater perspective, and get the support that we need.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's actually it leads to us all having better relationships with our partners by being able to have that safety of that space together to share, get feedback from people who we actually trust, because I think we all give great advice. And that feels really good too, to have so many wise women.
Yeah, we're all coaches or teachers in some way, shape, or form. So it's truly like a group of peers, which feels really excellent. What do y'all want more of in our friendship? Do you know?
I'm not going to share yet.
What do you want more of?
I mean, I think that's something you and I have talked about is like the ceremonial go there, be in, like, I love sharing that space, and there hasn't and it's something that it's different than other stages of my life. What ceremony looks like now is very different than other stages of my life, and there's parts of those previous stages that I really want to like integrate into my present, and because it's so important to me, I like want to share that with the people I love the most. And there hasn't always been like the space or time when that like lands for everyone at the same time.
Yeah, I feel that for sure. Yeah, I have a dream of us all like going in with like maybe ayahuasca together or something. Like I would love to do that with y'all. I'd love to bond with y'all in that way.
Same.
Would you feel up for that?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I was so ceremonied out for so long because it was just like my whole life, and now, or for many years, and I kind of went the opposite way. I'm like, if anyone was like, let's do a ceremony, I'm like, I'm out. I'll see you when you just want to casually hang out. But I feel more desire to, and we have done a little bit of ceremony, but I would quite like to have some kind of more formal type of thing.
I mean, it'd be great if someone came in and held us together. I don't really like, I want to just be in ceremony with y'all. I'm not so much like we all need to orchestrate and lead.
Like
I think that's the piece for me that,
holders.
that's the part that oftentimes I think prolongs it, because like, I just want to go in with y'all and be held in that, and then be in some magical spaces like that together.
Yeah.
Yeah, in an emergent field.
Emergent field, and doesn't have to be ayahuasca, it can be anything, it can be any wonderful thing.
I want to
You were
throw
like,
up
"What do you want
into a
more of
bucket
in our
right
lives?" And I was
beside
like-
you. Let's all throw up in buckets together. It'll be
Yeah.
a great bonding experience.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite things that we do together.
It's one of my favorite things.
Ceremonies.
Yeah.
I will say your birthday, I think, was the first time we all did medicine together.
4th of July? Oh no, your birthday.
We did
Yeah,
4th
yeah,
of
yeah,
July,
I'm-
but it was like a lighter. But that
remember.
was more like, we knew what we were doing before. And that was one of the best birthday parties I've ever
Yeah.
been to. That was dope.
love
I'm so
that.
glad.
That was really cool.
It was for me. It was like that was my favorite. That was my favorite. That was my favorite birthday.
Madelyn and I were like, nothing's happening.
Yeah, nothing's happened. And then all of a sudden you were like, oh, the rug feels so good. Oh, it's so good. Yeah, in the what?
I'm a branch.
And then you were like,
ran for a good 2 hours.
Madelyn kept being like,
But it was great.
do you want more? Do you want more? My
Oh,
gall
I
is coming
remember
out.
that.
Schmeagle.
You're like,
I was like, yes, I'll have more. But I did reach a point where I was like, no, I need to be complete now, else I will never sleep.
I struggled around that time for a while with like knowing when to stop.
Mm.
But because we do ceremonies so often, now I don't struggle with stopping because I know one's like around the corner and like we get to go back in at some point and sleep is good tonight.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And there is a point at which more doesn't,
Oh, it sends you down.
yeah, it like stops having the desired effect and just keeps you awake.
It only keeps you awake. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before we had our Cabo trip, I had a really awful experience
was-
where I learned a
yeah, I
very
remember.
profound lesson
Oh.
that I will never recreate.
Yeah.
again. You just can't do more at 4 a.m., 5 a.m. You think you're going to be able to do more and then just walk right into the airport and you're not. It sounds like a great idea. It's not. Not going to happen.
Yeah. Medicines and airports do not mix.
No.
Else you lose your Diva Cup for 3 months inside your yoni.
Well, on that note, do y'all have any final thoughts you want to share? Any like lingering thoughts and things you want to leave either about like friendship or about our future or about love? Just like put it in the field. Put it in the cauldron.
I just want to say how grateful I am for each of you
Hmm.
and what we've created together. You know, I really do agree that it does feel like family. Like it feels like true sisterhood. And sometimes we fight and sometimes we, but we always come back to love. And I think that there's a lot of permission in this configuration that we have for us to be all of ourselves and to get it right and mess it up and be messy and be, like I think that is my favorite thing about our friendship is that there's capacity for our humanness and a desire to continue to grow together. Yeah.
I'll add, I feel like, wow, I would have loved having this episode like 5 years ago in my life. And I think it's so amazing that you're like allowing people to see a little peek beyond the veil of a deep sisterhood that I think many people watch on our various stories or hear in our own words through our books or podcasts, whatever. And my invitation for someone listening and like, oh, I want that is like create it. Like there's so much. I think that we are here in this room because each of us took the initiative at various times to show up, to give a little bit more than maybe what we're used to receiving, and that set a new standard and see who reciprocates in that process as well, and choose to deepen with those people.
Yeah, and go to people that you might feel intimidated by.
Yes.
I feel like this is the first sisterhood where I chose people that I saw, and like each of you, I was like, oh my God, she's so amazing. Like, I want to know her. And I wasn't like, oh, but she won't want to know me.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't put myself out there. In the past, I would wait for people to come to me. And I feel like with each of you, I think we all did it, but I was like, you're the one I want to know. So yeah, I think that's putting yourself out there is such a powerful thing to do.
One of my favorite parts of you and I's relationship is that first meeting moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're like, I don't know anything about you, but I love everything about you, and you're amazing, and I want to be your friend. And that was like, we were both like, yes, that's how I feel. It was like, we didn't even, that was like the first sentences towards each other.
I think that like that's just Sophia's life, because I've seen people meet her as well. Like even on New Year's, like the same thing happened. That one woman was like, I fell in love with you at first sight. And I was like, I had the same experience. Like I think that's just, you were energetic. I don't know what
It's
it
a
is.
vibe.
She's iconic.
Mhm.
I fall in love with people at first sight too. I think you did that with all of you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will add to what y'all are sharing. I think one of the pieces that, at least like very much with you, that we have done with each other, and it's been easeful with both of you. There's like an invitation always for more, like more and more and more. What's really there? What's the truth? And I remember there was a moment for me a couple years ago when I was seeing somebody new, and you had shared something with me because you knew him, and you said something like, well, I hope it goes well, or something like that. And I remember that feeling, and I was like, and I just immediately sent you a message, and I was like, when you say I hope it goes well, it sounds like you're not going to be on the journey with me.
Oh.
And I want you to, and of course you meant that, but like there was a moment where I was like, I'm demanding, like, you're on this journey with, there's no like a hope it goes well, like the overarching, like,
See
ta-ta, like,
I
you're gonna
totally
be,
didn't mean it like that.
I know you didn't, but what the important piece I'm sharing here is not about like what you were saying, but more so when you're forming relationships, don't be afraid to like lean in more, invite more, or like take a stand for wanting someone by your side. I felt like that was a significant moment for us because, at least for me, I felt your response of really like leaning in even more of like, oh, no,
yeah.
I'm going to be there. And then we had a beautiful conversation, and I've just felt like there's been a lot of that in the relationship of like, I've put you somewhere in my life. I've put all of you somewhere in my life, and you're going to be there, and you're going to watch things, and things are going to evolve, and you're going to be by my side. And there's like this internal heart demand that you are here, that you're here with me. And don't be afraid for anyone who wants to create this to like have an open-hearted declaration for like, lean in. Let's lean in together. And you go first, obviously.
Sometimes you need to make code words.
Yeah, you do.
Code words?
Yeah.
Yes.
Luna and I have a code word for when Luna hurts my feelings.
Safe word.
Yeah,
A safe word.
Yeah.
Blueberry.
Yeah, blueberry. Just in case I can't, if I'm in a free state and my feelings are hurt, I'll just say blueberry.
No, I know.
I haven't had to use it yet. Just having it in the space has been good.
I feel like I'd forget to use it in the moment where it was needed.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
TBD.
TBD. Yeah, I love us. I'm so grateful. This is so fun.
Yeah.
The end.
The end. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for joining us. If you enjoyed this episode, we would love a 5-star review. Say, oh, that's amazing. Yeah, that's iTunes currency, so it's really supportive. And thank you all for joining the Madelyn Moon Show. I have no idea if there's going to be another episode after this. We'll see. But I love you all. Thank you for like being along on the journey in this podcast. Thank you all for being here. I love you so much. I'm so, so grateful. And scene.
See.